you are in for a real treat. If you want to know what a consummate professional is, and also a very lovely, lovely man, Sammy King has over 50,000 performances in his career. He had 10 years of the Crazy Horse in Paris. He's had years in Las Vegas. He is wonderful and amazing. So you are in for a great treat about showmanship and why he is the great performer that he is. And you could apply it in every aspect of performing. Kids shows, adults, it's still showmanship, whatever you do. So give a hand for Sammy King.
Hey guys. So this is a workshop and it's kind of loose and relaxed and we want to do some questions and answers and stuff. This is not a lecture such as I did last year where I just did most of the talking. So I want to do a little bit of interacting. You guys, I've been introduced, so I want you to introduce yourselves, not individually, but just by raising your hand. How many of you are red daughters here for the first time? Sons or daughters. Okay, that's quite a few. All right. And how many of you are not familiar with my work, have not seen my act or performance? Okay, good. Well, in this workshop, I'm going to cover about 6 different areas, and with each one of them, I've got a little 3-minute video that'll probably say volumes that I can't get out in words that'll draw better pictures for you. So we'll break up every little 10-minute thing, including a 3-minute video that I've edited on various subjects. So let me get to know that. Let's see, besides the red daughters and people that haven't seen me, how many of you are professional performing and at any level ventriloquists? And or, okay, great. And how many of you also do a little magic with ventriloquists? It's very common to, yeah, magicians and ventriloquists kind of intertwine. Thank you, that's the word. I'm bad with words. I was a terrible student. My whole life I was focused only on ventriloquism. I never opened books. I was very popular. Voted most popular freshman 4 years in a row. Anyway, hopefully everyone's going to take away a little bit something, because these conventions are about camaraderie, and I myself have learned something at every single one of these conventions. So hopefully this workshop will add to it. How many of you do ministries, Christian work and stuff? Good, good. I'd certainly welcome you guys, because actually I think the Christian community makes up about 70% of the ventriloquists. And that's quite commendable. And your founder was one of our boys, you know. Jewish, never mind. Thank God for that. Okay, I really don't do comedy. I don't think of myself as a funny person. The distinction is probably the difference between saying funny things and saying things funny, you know? Okay, so, and for a second, there's going to be a lot of stuff here that was, if you're attending the second convention, second workshop, a lot of it's going to be different because I have volumes to say. And I want to talk just for a second about distinctions. Does everybody know about distinctions? I'll give you a good example. In Kenya, there is a tribe, the Maasai tribe. Everybody familiar with the Maasais? You've seen, yeah, and they're cattle herders, goat herders, whatever. If you bring a Maasai tribesman to America and he looks on a freeway and sees cars, he's going to see a red car and a black car and a white car, and that's what he sees. He doesn't distinguish them as a Mercedes and a Volkswagen and a Chevrolet. Conversely, if you go to Kenya and you see a Maasai tribesman with his herd of cattle, you just see a bunch of different shades of brown cows. but he sees the age, the health, the quality of the milk, the taste of the blood, which they drain and drink. It's not gross any more than a rare steak would be, etc., etc. So, the reason I mention that is that because I have been on the boards more time, and by on the boards I mean stage, that's what old timers used to call the stage, on the boards, more times probably than any living ventriloquist on the planet. I'm very proud of that, and I coach performance. I don't teach Vent 101. There's a lot of great courses out there that you should address if you're at that level. However, I can make you better on stage for various reasons. You notice there's two mics here? This is a cute little gimmick. Why? Because most ventriloquists are working here and the dummy's over here without a mic, and this is actually a dummy mic. It doesn't work at all. It's just there as a prop, but gives you the ability to be closer to the mic. Now, I watched all these. How many of you performed either in any of the junior, senior, open mics, whatever? All right, quite a few of you. Okay. The thing I see the most is that you guys are talking over here. You got the mic either here or you're talking here, and then when you turn to the dummy, it's kind of over here, and you don't hear the same as you do here, right? So if you're using one mic, I've always kind of shared the mic with my puppet over this way, so that when I'm turning, kind of looking, I can kind of do this angle, and of course you want to address the room over here, and so forth and so on. But this idea, you'll see why in a minute. For those of you that don't know my work, bear with me. I've done this 12-minute bit a gazillion times all over the world. I'm just going to show a very short, edited, 4.5-minute version of it real quick, so that you can be familiar with my work, and then we'll have a question and answer thing about that, and we'll discuss. This workshop is about showmanship and stage presence. Now, this is not stage presence at all. It's a workshop. I was going to wear a... All right, we did... McDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, on the farm. That was me doing Old MacDonald Had a Farm 40 years ago, and I don't know why it played. It just kind of did. It's because it's at the end of the last one is why we didn't do it. That's okay. That doesn't matter. The first thing we're going to do is I want to address the thing that I saw the most fault in those. How many of you at least saw the junior, senior, or open mic? Most of the room? Yes. Okay. So here's what you probably saw. You probably saw, and here is so-and-so, and the person comes out, and and sets the cases over there, and you're fumbling, and you get your props out, and about 20 to 30 valuable seconds go down the toy because you're not prepared to actually do the act. So not quite yet. That's all right. Don't worry. This is a workshop. It's very loose and cash. But as a demonstration of what I consider top drawer at the very finest level of an entrance, and then we'll talk about why it is. Some of you may have seen me walking around with a pretty young lady and everything, think, wow, this guy's got a young squeeze happening. It's not my girlfriend. It's actually my daughter, Christy King, and she is attending her first convention. She's a Red Daughter and has just absolutely loved it. She is a professional entertainer. She's been a dancer all of her, well, not all of her life so far. And she's going to demonstrate with my direction what I consider to be an entrance, and then we'll talk about why. So let's say that an MC is about to introduce a man or woman or both if you are, as a ventriloquist, performer, whatever, to the stage, and that person is going to get from the wing to the mic and do a performance. It should look, and we're talking about at its highest level, it should look and go a little bit something like this. The MC will say, oh, the credits, and just did the Tonight Show, and it's going to a runner-up on AGT, and whatever it is. And so you guys will play the audience. And so let's bring her on with a great round of applause. Here she is, Christy King. Thanks a lot, Christy. Okay, now, more is correct. Now, what did we see here in 8 seconds? First of all, the introduction and the name. If you walk out there on that name and the tech who's running your music, if you have music, and I suggest it's a good idea because it gets that energy going for the audience and helps a lot. You don't want to walk out there the minute they say your name. You want to wait a couple of beats because chances are the technician ain't going to be ready to hit that button.
Well, if you've not yet met my fine feathered friend here, I'll
That's all right. It's a workshop. We're loose. Don't worry about it. So here's what's important. A, that you dress to the nines. Use everything the theater has to offer. Some places it's just going to be a light bulb in a corner and a microphone sound system that sounds terrible. But if you had everything the theater has to offer, use it. By that I mean some form of costuming. I constantly see people that'll walk out there in shorts and flip-flops, and Vinny this year from last year transitioned into costume and commented on it, and everyone saw a great improvement and made notes on that. Okay, so wear something that says costume. I myself, because I'm old and from the old school, always wore the tuxedo look, the classic tux thing. I'm not saying you have to wear tux, but use something that's costuming. Don't be afraid to use makeup. If you happen to have strong lighting, your face is going to be washed out. Why not? Do your hair. Have something that says costuming. And like I said, you want to wait a couple of beats to make sure that technician gets your play on music. And you want to get from the wings, the whole time you don't want to do this. You're styling, you're being observed. So from the minute you start stepping out there, you start sending your energy and personality out to that audience because they're measuring you. Believe me, they're measuring. You don't get a second chance for that first impression. So before you've ever done any ventriloquism at all, have your props ready and get yourself ready to hit the mark. Not Mark Wade, but the mark being the spot where that microphone is and what you need. This is actually a dummy mic. It's no mic at all. It's just there as a prop so that I can do this, and my partner can also have a mic. And the other thing that I saw a lot is that folks tend to do this, right? And so they're talking here, and they'll turn over here, and the voice is going. So if you're going to do that, get your mic centered here and do it from here, because most of the time you're going to be, unless you're left-handed, you're going to get more play. You can project out of here if you need to. You want to play the whole room and so forth. But if you're standing here, every time you're going to be looking over here, you're going to be losing a little bit of that voice, yes? Okay, so enough about the microphone thing. I prefer this, just because I can do this and this and this and still be heard the same. Small detail thing, but important if that they hear you. I've seen, and a lot of you guys just simply a key word maybe wasn't heard that made a difference. So thank you, Christy, for demonstrating. It's time. We're going to do everything in 10-minute sections, and she's going to keep me organized. Like I say, I have a 3-minute edited video clip in many different areas. For those of you, and there were quite a few that don't know my work, I did a classic 12-minute act, the same act, I did it different every time for 53 years. And I worked 50 weeks a year, and usually 2 or 3 shows a night. I had to take deliberately 2 weeks off for vacation. And I was lucky because it was just a format. Anyway, this is an edited version. The title of this workshop that Mark Wade assigned me was Showmanship and Stage Presence. So I want you to look for those things in what you're about to see. I don't care about the technique aspect and so forth. Look for showmanship, stage presence, and bifurcating. Anybody not know what bifurcating is? Raise your hand, be honest. You don't know what bi means to. Okay. It's a theatrical term for simultaneously maintaining two characters. A lot of you guys have the habit of, you're so focused on the technique that when the heart is talking, you're over here dead trying to do this. Okay, and conversely, when you're talking, the puppet is over here doing this. So it's kind of like this thing here, doing two things at once, and you want to, it's action and reaction simultaneously. You're talking to him and he's listening and looking and acting like he's listening. And when he's talking, your configuration is that of listening. And the laughs that you're going to see here are not laughs because the line is necessarily funny. It's not the line that's getting the laugh, it's the reaction to it. And a wonderful example of it is being done, you can see it on video. Pete Michael does this act that you're going to see, is doing it probably, that's Diana agreeing. Hi Diana, I love you, sweetie. And that's anyway, what I want you to focus on here in these 4 minutes is the showmanship, stage presence, and the bifurcating, the maintaining of two characters, and the way I react to the character and why that sustains a laugh. Some of these laughs are 6 to 8 seconds long over something that's not really funny. It's not a joke. It is cerebral thoughts that I'm doing with my face and mind. So let's go ahead and kill the lights and roll the first video. This is 4.5 minutes.
Well, if you've not yet met my fine feathered friend here, I'll get him to introduce himself. Will you tell everyone who you are? Excuse me?
If you can kill the lights.
Right here, they can hear you. Quietly introduce yourself.
Kill them a little better. Turn them off, in other words.
Tell them who you are.
Oh, sí. Who you are.
It's a switch that goes either up or down.
Who you are.
Your name.
Thank you.
Francisco González García de la Garza Gómez Jones.
Jones?
Yes, it's pronounced Jones.
Jones.
Francisco Jones.
You are a Mexican parrot.
Sí, I are.
Okay.
No CIA.
We are here at the Follies to entertain this audience.
Good luck.
What would you like to do for them? Do you want to sing something or
No, I nothing.
you won't sing? No.
Nothing.
Why not?
Ando ronco de la garganta.
And what's that mean in English?
I got a sore throat. It's not funny.
Maybe a massage will make you feel better. Can we have the music, please? I'm going to sing the song. You just translate it. La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar.
This is a sad log story of two cockroaches.
Porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar.
They work together in a Mexican cigarette factory.
La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar.
But this romance was doomed from the start.
The romance was doomed from the start.
Yes.
Why?
The two were boy cockroaches.
Both of them were boy cockroaches?
Yeah. There's so much of that in this town.
Porque no tienen, porque le falta marihuana que fumar.
And then came Susie.
Susie?
Susie Cockroach.
Susie Cockroach.
Yeah. She was from the wrong side of the kitchen.
La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar.
And one of the other cockroaches was going to make love to her.
He was going to make love to Susie.
Yeah, they were gonna do it.
Careful.
They were gonna do it careful.
You be careful.
You don't touch my feet.
Tell us the story.
Okay. He took Susie to his hotel and he said to her,
Porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar.
$100, are you out of your mind?
Thank you. Well, before I teamed up with Francisco, I was a flamenco guitar player, and I'm going to play a rather classic Spanish guitar composition for you.
Good luck.
Don't say anything, please.
I no say nothing.
Good night, Francisco.
Good night, gringo. Ole!
The act is over.
You said it.
Your part of the act is over. This is the guitar solo. Just hold it down.
Okay. But fast fingers.
Thank you. Don't interrupt.
Don't touch my feet.
I wasn't touching your feet.
I wasn't talking to you.
Aren't you alone in there?
No, I got Susie Cockroach here.
Let me play the guitar. Okay, no more interruptions.
Just one thing. What is it? Lend me $100.
This could go on all night.
For $100, it should.
I'm working on a very difficult piece.
So am I.
This is difficult.
This is impossible.
Nothing's impossible.
Parrot and a cockroach. Oh, Susie, touch my feet.
He's not going to let me play. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now you can turn the lights on. It's the up switch. There we go. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that was kind of a little condensed version. The things I asked you to look for were those reactions to a gag. Why were they sustained 6 to 8 seconds? That's a long time to react. Because of my facial reactions. I noticed looking at Pete doing that, his version of it, which is just wonderful. Same thing. He's got that. The puppet's not even there, but if you've established the character, and even when the puppet is there, your reaction to it, that's where most of you are lacking, is in the straight man. The joke is not as fun. Jerry Lewis was funny because of Dean Martin's reaction to whatever antics were going on. So I wanted to point that out. As far as stage presence, I don't know, that came from a lot of experience, but costuming in one form or another. I don't care if it's just a simple bow tie, is going to say a lot. And then the bifurcating, of course, the listening and so forth. That takes some doing. The bottom line to all of this, practice, practice. My daughter Christy is telling me, shut up and move on, or you'll never get to everything. Thank you. I like to be precise. This thing usually starts and ends right on time. I make a habit of doing that. Now, next, and you in the Christian community will especially like this. This is a fairly new student of mine. His name is Rob Watkins. He's a pastor out west in California, where I live, near Palm Springs. And he loves doing Vent. Now, we're going to see a 3-minute bit that he's doing. And the things I want you to look for here are, of course, technique, which you may consider technique to be lip movement, lip control. That's a big part of it, and he's got that down. Gimmicks is a great word. You got to have a gimmick. Okay, and he's got gimmicks. Character, endearment of the character, very, very important because you buy into it. In this case, he's got a character who's got a stuffed nose, got a coated toad, which is something a little different. And I want you to look for the security blanket. Everybody know what a security blanket is? It's your pacifier. We all have it. It's the thing that you guys all do that you don't know you're doing it. And it's usually reaching over and grabbing the dummy's arm, or straightening his leg when it doesn't need straightening, or grabbing the microphone, some unnecessary thing that you're doing that you're not even aware of. My own, you probably didn't notice what I was doing. Mine is this. I take this finger and I push it into my thigh, so nobody can see what I'm doing for a security blanket, but it makes me, it calms me down, gives me that sense of security that we cling to. And usually at the end of the second or third show of the night, I've got a big bruise there from pushing into my thigh. So I know you didn't notice it, but if you get coached, and get coached by anybody, it doesn't matter if they have more experience or you than not, just somebody that sees from, say, well, you're doing this, that, or the other. So those are the things I want you to look for in this next 3-minute bit. Technique, gimmicks, character, and a security blanket. So when Bob is ready to kill the lights, the other Bob will run the tape and we'll watch Rob Watkins do 3 minutes here, and then we'll talk about it. We have lost power. The plug keeps coming out. Someone is open. That's all right. This is a workshop and in a loose format. It may take a second. All right. I'll dance for him in the meantime. Because every time, hey, I can make dancers laugh, by my dancing. I love doing it too. There we go. Are we ready? We're back up and almost ready. Almost ready. We got to kind of reboot here. And by the way, if you're interested, I sell Toshibas.
Well, if you've not yet met my fine feathered friend
here... No, that's
here,
track 1. We want to go to track 2.
Now, if you have arachnophobia, there's really no need to be concerned.
So we want to get video along with you. Yeah, it's all right. All right, we can wait. This is a workshop. Here we go. Now we got it.
This is probably the friendliest arachnid you'll ever meet. His name is Sylvester the Spider. There we go. Sylvester the Spider. There he is. So, how you doing? Oh, doing good. You sound like you're doing good. Well, I had a little difficulty. What is your little difficulty, Sylvester? I have a stuffed nose. How do you know you have a stuffed nose? Because I can't breathe through it. You can breathe through it. I can't breathe through my nose. Try it. You'll all need to try to breathe through your nose. Okay, I'll try. It is stuffed totally to the max, yeah. So I didn't know that spiders had mucous membranes. That's amazing. What is that that's in there? I think they call it polyfill. See, polyfill It's the stuff they make pillows out of. I know. Yeah, okay, well, here. I have a harmonica. I love the harmonica. Good. I thought we would play a song together today, kind of cooperate together, okay? Okay, show a little bit of teamwork for these boys and girls. And it's a song that's about a very adventurous and persevering bug. Not, yes, not that, yes, it is. Are you talking about Itsy Bitsy the spider? That's who I'm talking about. That climbed up the water spout. That's the one. He got all the way to the top. I know. Go, Itsy Bitsy. Good. And then it happened. What happened? Then it happened. What? He got to the top. Yeah, and then it poured down rain. Yes, it did. And it washed the spider out. But did he stay down? I don't know. He didn't stay down. But when the sun came out, there he is again. The persevering spider, yes, crawling back up the water spout. Go, Itsy Bitsy, you could do it. That's right. And he got there, yes, just in time. Just in time for what? The second verse. Oh, that's cute. It's just like the first verse. Okay, you know what? Well, we're gonna play that song, okay? Okay, all right. Are you hyperventilating? No, I was practicing. Okay. Okay.
All right, that was Rob Watkins. Lights, please. Cute act, right? He performs for kids, and as probably the largest majority of you do. So, questions and or statements about it? Did we notice? Yes. Thank you. That's the first thing. His security blanket. 12 times in 3 minutes he went up to adjust his glasses that did not need adjusting. So what happens when he does that? Everyone goes visual and not audio, so they miss a word or two of what's going on, aside from the fact that it's annoying to see someone constantly doing this, right? He didn't know, when he came to me, he didn't even know he was doing that. First thing I always do is I say, okay, let's look at your video with the audio off. So we study body language, and we're going to look for your security blanket. We all have one, every one of us. And so, yes, very astute of you. That was it. Any other comments? How about his technique? Dynamite, right? Popping B's and M's and P's. This is a guy that spends most of his time, preaching the Bible. It's pretty darn good ventriloquial technique. How about the character of that spider, right? Very refreshing. He got a coat his dough and so forth. This man is not a musician. He does not play the harmonica at all. He learned just those few notes of Itsy Bitsy. So what's his gimmick? The spider plays with him. It's a duet. How does he do it? A secret. I'm not going to tell you. It's a magic trick. Of course, it's magic. That's how it's done. My daughter Christy is telling me that I should shut up and move on to the next subject to stay on time. That's it for Christy. She's single, and I got a shotgun. Okay, this next guy, another student of mine that back in the 90s, I had a 5-year engagement at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. Those of you that attended the first Las Vegas convention, if you were lucky enough to be there, probably knew that I was working there. And this guy came to me. He's a voice impressionist. He was the Terry Fader of that time. And I said, you know what? I don't think you need to focus so much on ventriloquism. You do better just as his voice impressions. Now, he's a singing impressionist, also like Terry Fader, does a great Frank Sinatra. He's going to do, this is a little less than 3-minute clip. He's going to do a few characters. Now, it goes back to the 90s, so some of these characters that he's doing are old, they're not current. But some of you older folk, and I see there's a few of you that are close to my age, will remember the great impressionist Rich Little. Remember him? Okay. Well, Rich Little's opinion of this young man was that he was absolutely, hands down, and this is before Danny Gans. I don't know if you know that name or not. Okay. Well, Rick Michael was a great singing impression. I said, focus on it. But you know what's missing? He said, what? I said, you do a great Sinatra. A great Sinatra. However, how many Sinatra songs can you sing before they say, well, okay, you're doing Sinatra spot on, now what? So I said, let's enhance that. He said, what do you mean? I said, let me make you some props so we can add some visual stuff to the audio, because so far they're just listening to Sinatra. And he said, well, what kind of props? I said, let's do Sinatra in 3 different decades, 20 years apart. Sinatra was known in the 40s as a teen idol with a bow tie thing with the Dorsey Orchestra. Then in the 60s with a fedora, and he was that swinging guy with the Rat Pack thing. And then in the 80s, he was an older man with the New York thing, a different look. So he said, well, how am I going to make all of those changes that fast in a medley? And I said, aha, how indeed? Well, I created some quick change, simple props, and a prop for every little character he was doing. So he had a drop box and make some quick changes. So what you're going to see here, well, you'll see a few things first, a few characters from back then that he does well. He did Bob Hope and several others. What's the guy that with the sang Song Sung Blue? Everybody knows it. Neil Diamond, yes. So he said, he did a great Neil Diamond. I said, but so what? Let's make him ridiculous. Let's give him hair out to here and eyebrows, which he had exaggerated. And let's make it fun for the audience as well as doing the impression. So he does a few of those, and Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy and so forth. And I said, now when you get to your Sinatra thing, we want to do something magical. The audience is already applauding way up here for his impression, because his singing impression of Sinatra was dynamite. Yet, we took it with just a few simple props and a quick change gimmick idea that I had, and I built all the props that are used here. There's some cute prop stuff. We took it to here in response. So this is a live performance in 1990 at the Maxim Hotel in Las Vegas. It's 4th generation video, so forgive the quality of it. That's not what we're looking for here. I want you to notice audience reaction, the response from the audience as a result of the enhancement of props. So let's kill lights and roll tape, as they say. And hopefully it will happen. Now,
if you have...
No, that's track number 2. We did that one already. We won it. Yeah, it's all right. This is... I hate to be redundant again.
Benny Burns.
Rick Michael is one of the best impersonators around today.
Songs of blue, ever gotten rose one. Thanks for the memories of Benny Burns and Bing, when comedy was king. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
I can sing that song a lot better than you. You ready? Here we go. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Look at no respect from anybody. Ooh.
You know, good sex is like money in the bank. Sometimes you lose interest.
Hey, Rocky, why'd you put the baby in my hat? Pancho Hello, I'm Howard Stern. Can somebody call for a taxi? Okay, okay.
This is the best time ever! Don't you wish you were here? I know, aren't you?
I'll never sneeze again until I sneeze at you. Come on, fly with me, we'll fly, let's fly away. These little town blues, they are melting away.
And he makes me laugh. His material is excellent. We have more fun working together because I break up all the time.
All right, so that was Rick Michael. We can have laughs. Lights, I mean, yeah. Great stuff. Now, Mr. Michael has taken Sinatra to a whole other level. There's a lot of Rat Packs and Sinatra tribute shows, but he is doing it with pops. 24-piece symphony orchestras, and he does a Sinatra tribute. It's great, and he making 25, 30,000 a night in concerts all over the world in big cities. So, I suppose, any questions about any of that? Any statements about it, one way or the other? Okay, like I said, he did ventriloquism, and I said, you're a good ventriloquist. And wrong, I was wrong. I said, hey, if you stick with ventriloquism and do a whole bunch of your impressions, maybe you could have your own show, and maybe there'll be someday a show called America's Got Talent, and they'll give you $1 million, and you can sign a 5-year contract with Vegas. He said, sure, that's going to happen. It did, but not to him. Anyway, the point was that visually enhancing anything you do. We do it with characters, but don't be afraid to enhance the straight man character and the reactions to the puppet. So, we're going to, yes, come on. We get to watch you walk again. See, she walks like a dancer. Thank you. Hey, it's my workshop. Okay, now how many of you have made or are figure makers? There's Jeffrey over there, and 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you guys will appreciate this. We all know the work that Alfaro and Selberg and Axtell and some of these people do. There's some great figure makers here. The fellow you're about to see, and this is an edited 3-minute thing from a 1-hour website that you guys can download and look at the whole thing if you want. However, it's in Spanish. This was recorded 100 years ago. I want you to remember that. So this is figure making 100 years ago. This man was not only a great technical ventriloquist, he's from Spain, and became very famous. Then he toured all of South America, Central America, and Mexico to sell out houses. I'm talking about just like the old big magic shows did with those barn-sized posters and things. Thousands of people. And he traveled with 30 characters, life-size figures, that he manipulated. You're going to see some great figure manipulation like you've never seen before. Now, I got it. I edited it down to 3 minutes, narrated it in English, and added a little classical guitar, Spanish guitar for the flavoring and everything. But I want you to see what his name is Paco Sanz. If you want to write that down and look at Francisco Sanz, and he's the guy. A little information for Tom Ladshaw. Francisco Sanz is who I named my Francisco after, and the man that he studied classical guitar from, also Francisco Tarrega, the world's greatest classical guitar composer. So, again, 100 years back, but it's 3 minutes that you're going to really enjoy and be entertained and amazed by. If we'll hit the lights, Bob, thank you kindly, and roll tape this.
Michael.
What you are seeing is a short film clip of Francisco Sanz Baldovi, better known as Paco Sanz or Ventriloquist Sanz. He lived from 1872 to 1939 in Spain, considered one of the most popular artists in Spain in the first half of the 20th century. This film, entitled Sanz and the Secret of His Art, has recently surfaced from his estate. Paco Sanz toured the Iberian Peninsula extensively between 1902 and 1935. He also obtained great success in South America during 2 seasons and visited Cuba in 1916 and Mexico in 1935. As you can see, his dexterity and fantastic figures were extremely advanced for the art of ventriloquism at that time. He traveled with 30 different figures of human size. Some of those characters became as famous as real actors in his era, very much as Charlie McCarthy became a real character to the American public in his time. This film, which in this presentation is simply a short clip, shows his incredible artistry and the complexity of the mechanisms used to manipulate his figures. Sanz was an extraordinary artist. He also is an example of how ventriloquial technique and ideas are passed from one generation to the next. It is interesting to note that during his last tour of Mexico in 1935, Paco Sanz gave one of his figures to a young colleague by the name of Wenceslao Moreno, who we know today as Senor Wences. Before his death in 1999, in a Spanish newspaper article, Wences was quoted as saying, "The man in the box is what remains of a doll the unforgettable ventriloquist Sanz gave me." The film was discovered in the attic of his country house in Spain. It was restored in 1995. As a matter of preservation, we are fortunate to have this film by the Institute of Cinematography in Valencia, Spain. You may freely watch the complete documentary by accessing the Sanz website posted at the end of this film. We in the ventriloquist community are fortunate to have this extraordinary example of a great artist preserved as part of the rich history of our art form.
Like that? Is that not amazing? Remembering this is 100 years ago? All right. Question, yes, please. Francisco, as in my parrot's name, Francisco, Sanz, S-A-N-Z, and then put ventriloquist, or in Spanish, ventriloquo, and it'll come up. And it's like a 1 hour thing. It is all in Spanish. They didn't have sound film then, but there are some radio recordings. Now, he was not just a figure designer and maker. He was also a very gifted comedian, comedic actor. And his timing, I've listened to it, impeccable timing. His ventriloquist technique was wonderful, and each of those 30 characters that he traveled around with horse and wagon, right? Yes, exactly. Played theaters, packed big theater houses in all the capitals of the world. Pretty amazing stuff. I have put that 3-minute video together. Wish I could play classical guitar like that again, but it ain't gonna happen. It's something you gotta stay after. I think Peter Michael probably plays better guitar than I do now. He's only like, what, 4 years old? Anyway, okay, so no questions or answers on, yes? Probably not enough, but, you know, probably as much as what Jeff Dunham and Terry Fader are making, or the equivalent of back in those days, because I think the, I don't know what gold was about, $14, $15 an ounce, something like that, and now gold is $1,500 an ounce, and interestingly enough, my grandfather, William Abraham Lieberman, ran away from home. He was a Polish immigrant who ran away from New York City at age 16 to join a carnival back in the late 1800s, and ended up south and west until he got to Brownsville, Texas, where I was born. And in the carnival there was a sideshow that had a snake exhibit. And South Texas had a lot of rattlesnakes for the catching, and nobody minded if you caught them and did whatever with them, right? Just to get rid of them. Well, he would milk these rattlesnakes for the venom, let it crystallize. Why? Because, you can look this up online, or take my word for it, either way. Rattlesnake venom, gold is about $1,500 an ounce now, I think. That's about the average of it. Rattlesnake venom is $15,000 an ounce. It's amazing, pretty amazing. My grandfather died and left me a couple of pounds of the stuff. I thought it was stupid at the time, but now, hey, I bought an airplane with it. Anyway, there is a downside to that. You cannot, not Lloyd's of London or anybody will insure you for rattlesnake catching business. So, this was my first figure when I was 9 years old. I thought at the time that it was a Charlie McCarthy dummy because I heard Charlie McCarthy on radio. There was no television when I was a kid. And I asked my mother, I said, is that one guy doing both characters? And she said, yeah, he's a ventriloquist. And I said, what's that? She said, well, he has kind of a doll, and he pulls a little string, makes the mouth open and close, and he does the voice. And I said, I can do that. She says, what do you mean? I sat my kid brother on my lap, and I'd squeeze the back of his neck, he'd open and shut his mouth, and I'd do the voice. And it blew her skirt up. She went out and got a catalog and got me my first factory replica of Charlie McCarthy, which I quickly repainted because I wanted it to be original. But this was my first one. I thought it was Charlie McCarthy. It's actually a dummy Dan, as identified by our good friend Tom Ladshaw, who's done more for me in words and writing than I could ever put down. I'm ever so grateful for that. So this is my 1940 dummy Dan that I thought was a Charlie McCarthy. I'm going to leave it here with Tom so that it can go to Vent Haven, along with, I donated my Francisco puppet to Vent Haven and welcome the Vent community to do the act. Pete has been doing, it's been what, 2 years now? 3 years he's been doing it. It's a great 12-minute edition, and he does it better than I can, for sure, and he's got all those takes. Remember those long pause things? He does all of that with facial expressions if you want to look it up online. There's a few people licensed to do it. They're kind of scattered around the world. I did it because I wanted Francisco's character to live on. But anyway, Dummy Dan, whom I call Teddy, and there's been many versions of Teddy since then. One of them you're going to see here in a second at the end. This time we'll run the Norm Nielsen clip all the way through, and I'll show you a little bit that I did with Teddy years ago. Norm Nielsen, those of you that do magic know that Norm Nielsen is a very famous name, a great, great magician who now makes wonderful, beautiful magic props and posters. I visit him often in Vegas, go to his shop where I design and do some of my own stuff. I was inspired by Paco Sanz to do some new figures. One of them is Buckaroo Buddy, who has some unusual movements. His mustache moves instead of the mouth opening, closing, and he does this, and you know, his right arm goes up and down with a lasso, and his hat goes up instead of eyebrows. So weird movements like that, inspired by Paco. That's neither here nor there, which my mother used to say, and I'd say, well, it's got to be somewhere. Neither here nor there. So anyway, this will, I'm going to give this to Tom to keep in his Sammy King collection, and it's time. Let's go ahead and run that. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, we're going to run. This is me and Norm Nielsen. We were pals. We lived and shared an apartment in Paris the years that I worked at Crazy Horse, which is the world's most famous international cabaret. And we shared cars and whatever. But I went to his shop. Norm is still alive and well and working hard and making some beautiful magic stuff. And this is me showing him that dummy that I just finished building. I'm not a great dummy builder. I can design stuff, props, all the things you've seen. I designed, and as crude as they were, I love, you know, inspiring people to add things, whether it's just a bow tie or a fedora or whatever, to give your character, your straight man character, a little bit. So we're going to watch Norm for a second, and at the end of this, go ahead and let it run this time, because it's a little 30-second thing of me doing my very first act with Teddy, which was Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and it's got a little surprise thing to it. Go ahead and let's run tape and kill lights.
Norm, I'll tell you right now, buddy. Oh, boy, that's right. Just get a rope and hang me, dang me. Yeehaw. So, yeah, now, if I could ever learn to operate it, it's something else. How you doing, Norm?
He's a lot to handle.
He's a lot to handle. Are you kidding me? Got my hand full right there.
Boy.
Yeah. You want to yodel for us?
I can yodel too?
Yeah, well, I could if this man Twinkle and Chris could do it, I could do it. We got a little Adam's apple motion going right there. And so yeah, he's pretty outstanding, especially with this section here.
Wow, that's great.
And most of the mechanics came from, were inspired at least by Paco Sanz and stuff, although this is 3 years in the making.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, and did it wonderful. Well, thank you kind, sir. It's a good thing. Yeah, it is. All right, we did.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. On this farm, E-I-E-I-O. Look at moo here, and moo there, and here, moo there, moo, quack, quack here, and quack, quack there, and here, quack, there, quack, and the quack, quack, chick, chick here, and chick, chick there, and here, chick, there, chick, and the chick, chick. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. On this farm he had a pig, E-I-E-I-O. But oink here, and oink there, and here, on there, oink, moo here, and moo there, and here, moo there, moo, quack, quack here, and quack, quack there, and here, quack, there, quack, and the quack, quack, chick, chick here, and the chick, chick there, and here, chick, there, chick. Hold your breath, chick, chick. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. On this farm he had a giraffe, E-I-E-I-O. Hold, guys. Teddy, you're not saying anything. Yeah, neither do giraffes. E-I-E-I-O. Thank you very much. This is Sammy King, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, Teddy.
All right. That fun? Little surprise ending. That little fellow there was Kevin Brown, the son of Johnny Brown, who was one of the 3 munchkins in The Wizard of Oz, the Lollipop Guild. We represent that. Anyway, he was about this tall, weighed 40 pounds, and I designed a ventriloquist mask with a mouth that I operated from the back. And the whole focus there was to Watch me, folks. Don't look at the dummy. Look at me over here. I'm holding my breath and I can't do deliberately doing bad ventriloquism so they would focus on me running out of breath and not notice that he was, in fact, not really a ventriloquist figure, but a live person. So, again, I call these things a blow-off. If you're building an act, start at an ending and work your way backwards. So, any questions about anything? Yeah, yes, no, you guys are satisfied, or you at least entertained a bit? Okay, now, thanks. Oh, wait a minute, before we do the merch thing, one thing here. This is very important. Before every performance that I did, I experienced nerves. Anybody get nervous? Everybody gets nervous. What can we do about it? I've invited our good friend Bob Baker, Dr. Bob Baker. He's a gastroenterologist, a brilliant man, and he's going to explain a medical technique that'll be very valuable for calming yourself down before a show. Because I don't know about you guys, but in all of my shows, I was on the verge of puking just before going out on stage, and it's very, very common. Bob, if you'll give us 3 minutes of the medical explanation to it. This is Dr. Bob Baker.
Thank you, Sammy. Before I get into that, I also have taken coaching from Sammy, and he helped me prepare for America's Got Talent, and it worked. So thank you. So all of us get nervous before we go out. Why? Because there's a branch of our nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system which starts firing. You may remember from Psych 101, the fight or flight response. When we're faced by a threat, the heart starts going, the digestive juices stop, we start to breathe fast, and it makes it very hard to perform. Fortunately, for lots of us, as soon as we get on stage, that goes away. But the feeling leading up to it is terrible. And I'll tell you that when I did America's Got Talent, when I was waiting backstage to go on, I was not nervous because I used 2 techniques that I'd like to share with you that are very valuable. Number 1, go online and read about self-hypnosis. Hypnosis is not any of the hocus-pocus stuff. Maybe a lot of you do it in your shows. But you can learn to do some very simple self-relaxation exercises. So starting about 3 or 4 days before that performance, I did self-relaxation, and I gave myself suggestions that when I went out there, I would be calm, I'd feel relaxed, I'd have good mouth technique, and that I would feel okay and feel excited. So when I did go out, I wasn't nervous in the least. I was excited, I was hopped up, I was charged up and ready to go, but not nervous. Now, number 2, write down this name, Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y. Are you familiar with the TED Talks that you can see online, the technology, entertainment, and design? TED Talks are wonderful 20-minute talks by people from a variety of experts. You can go to TED.com and find it. Amy Cuddy gave a talk about body language. Now, we all know that our body language oftentimes reflects how we feel. So if we're not feeling so well, we're not secure about ourselves, we tend to pull in. Whereas if we're in a more of a powerful situation, we tend to open up and make ourselves bigger. Well, there's science behind this. And what they have discovered is that when people are like this, the level of testosterone, the power hormone, is down, and the level of cortisol, the stress hormone, is up. But the opposite is true when we are feeling strong and empowered. Testosterone goes up, cortisol goes down. But here's the cool thing. You can change that unconscious response in yourself. What they've demonstrated is that if you assume for 2 minutes what they call the power pose, which is this, upright, hands on hips, that it'll give you a tremendous feeling of self-confidence, and they actually measure the before and after hormone levels of people who do this, and afterwards the testosterone goes up, the cortisol stress goes down. So for the 2 minutes before I went on, and now I do it before every show, for 2 minutes I just stand there upright, take some good easy breaths with the hands, arms akimbo as they say, like this, and you will feel empowered. When you go out there, you will take command of that stage, because that's what we need to do as performers. You can't slink out. You have to take command of that stage and that audience and that theater from the moment that you step on stage, and doing the power position will help you to do that. So Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, it's a 20-minute talk. Watch it, you'll learn a lot, and it will help your performances. Thanks, everybody.
Bob Baker, thank you, Bob. Well, that kind of concludes what I've got, except I do have some merchandise here on my notes, stuff that